Hello everyone. Welcome to the module 1 of teaching and learning. Today we are going to discuss the topic learning, its meaning, definition, nature and approaches. What is learning? Answer to this question has been attempted by many psychologists and educationists. Learning is not something that takes place within the boundaries of a classroom. Rather, it takes place anywhere, anytime, and from anyone. Traditional Indian literature has many examples where people has learned from trees, mountains, rivers, insects, etc. It means learning is something that takes place anywhere, anytime, and from anyone. To understand learning better, let's see some of the definitions of learning. Learning can be defined as a process of behavior modification through experiences, exercise, and efforts. Herlock has defined learning as the development that comes from exercise and effort. Through learning, children acquire competence in using their hereditary resources. The same way, Hilgard Atkinson also defined learning as a relatively permanent change in behavior that occurs as a result of prior experience. In terms of Murphy, learning covers every modification in behavior to meet environmental requirements. According to Smith, learning is the acquisition of new behavior or strengthening or weakening of old behavior as a result of experience. Woodward has defined any activity that can be called learning so far as it develops the individual in any respect, good or bad, and makes him alter behavior and experiences different from what they could have otherwise been. From these definitions, we can conclude that learning is the acquisition of new habits, attitudes, knowledge, and skills, or it can also be strengthening or weakening of the old behavior, habits, knowledge, and attitudes as a result of experience. Therefore, we can say that learning is not acquired by birth, but it is the process of acquiring competence by using hereditary resources, or we can say the gene pool. Small temporary changes in behavior is also not learning. Many a times we all consider that acquiring good things as per the social norms is learning, but this is not true. Acquiring bad things from the kind of experiences we have in our daily life is also considered as a learning. In other words, we can say that learning leads to change in behavior, but this does not necessarily mean that these changes always bring about improvement or positive development. So we can conclude that instead of change in existing behavior or acquisition of new behavior, learning may also result in discontinuance or abandonment of existing behavior. This unlearning is the learning in itself. Learning is a process and it is not a productive. Attitudes, fears, gestures, knowledge, motor skills, language skills, etc. are the product of learning. But learning in itself is a fundamental and lifelong process. It is purposive or goal directed. We can say that learning is not an aimless activity and we do not learn anything and everything which comes in our way. Learning generally involves some degree of permanence. We can understand it through an example of a student who marks everything during the exam time and just after the exam he or she forgets everything. So it is not the learning of the student because it has not brought any kind of change in the behavioral pattern of the student or understanding of the student. Learning prepares for adjustments in life. Learning is comprehensive in nature. It means The scope of learning is spread through different aspects of life. Learning is change in response or behavior may be favorable or unfavorable. There can be some positive behavioral changes, or there can also be negative behavioral changes which are not as per the social norms. Learning is an organizing experiences. Mere instincts and reflexes are not learning. Learning does not include changes in behavior on the account of maturation, fatigue, illness, or tiredness. Approaches to learning describe and explain the condition under which learning does and does not take place. These approaches to learning are concerned mainly with the modus operandi, procedure, and styles or techniques of learning. These approaches apply to all learning tasks. Learning theories that emerged during the 20th century have been supported by experimentation. The theories may be classified into four major approaches or faculty of learning or the schools of thoughts. These are behavioristic approach, socialistic approach, cognitive approach, and humanistic approach. The behavioristic approach, which describes learning as a connection between stimulus and response, is the behavioristic school of thoughts. This approach to learning emphasizes that behavior begins with reflexes, for example, natural responses, and new behavior results from the acquisition of new bonds of stimulus and response through experiences. In the cognitive approach, learning is considered as inner psychological functioning such as perception, concept formation, attention, memory, and problem solving. Social learning approach focuses on the role of social interaction in learning. The humanistic approach makes use of creativity, belongingness, self development, coexistence, mental health, values, etc. It is comparatively a new approach to learning. There are different principles of learning. We will take the principles one by one. Learning is a growth like and continuous process. It means we learn throughout the life and learning becomes stronger with more exposures. Learning should be meaningful. It means it should not be an aimless activity. Learners should always feel that there is a meaning to the learning activity they are going through. In learning, maximum senses of the learner should be used. It means that while creating a learning situation, we should always take care that audio, visual, and audio-visual senses are considered or are taken into consideration. Learning should develop functional understanding of the learners. It is also affected by physical and social environment where learning is taken place. Learning ability varies widely among individuals. It is affected by their socioeconomic background, cognitive abilities, exposures, training, and different kind of skills they have acquired through the life experiences. Learning is a gradual process, usually requiring several exposures before change is noticed either in behavior or understanding of the learner. It is an active process on the part of learner. Learning requires effective communication. We can understand this through an example of a school where the medium of instruction is English, but a student who comes from a mediocre background and usually vernacular language is used at the home, then the student might perform very poor in the school because there is a communication gap, or we can say lack of effective communication in the school. We should always take care that theory and practical are interrelated in learning. So these are the principles of learning. So we are now at the end of this module. In the next module, we will discuss about learning situation, different factors influencing learning, and the learning process. Thank you so much for watching this video.